It is 7 o'clock, so I'll call this meeting to order. Peggy, do we have clock?
Yes, you do.
All right, at this time, do we have any public comment on non-agenda items?
I want to bring something up. That there's a burr under my saddle. The city sidewalk program, and I've been cited recently that my sidewalk is not compliant because I have trip hazards, which I don't disagree with, but I disagree with how the city runs that city sidewalk program. I think the city needs to take ownership of the sidewalks and do a repair program. The whole sidewalk doesn't need to be replaced, and it would be so much easier if they would just come and fix the couple of spots that need to be fixed. And it would be way easier for them to do that than me. And I have tried it a couple of times, and I'm not good with cement. Don't have a lot of mistakes. And I'm getting older now, and those bags are getting heavier. So I really would like to see them take ownership of that, of a program that would be a repair and maybe replacement as needed if a whole sidewalk did need to be replaced. But and then what they do with the current program is you sign up for their city sidewalk program, and if you get on, then you still have to pay for them to replace it. And I just don't see why we have to do it that way. And it would be less expensive to make it a repair program, and I have to find out that don't pay taxes to maintain our sidewalks. So why can't we use our property taxes for that program, or a program like that? So what I want to do is write something up, get it maybe presented to the commissioners, and see if they would take that on and try to make a change or programs, and have the city take ownership of those sidewalks instead of putting the burden on the homeowners. And if they don't want to do that, then my next question would be, would they approve putting it on the fall ballot and let the citizens vote on it? And if they don't want to do that, then my next step is I'd have to petition and get it on the ballot by getting a certain number of signatures, which I have time to do if it comes down to that.
Thank you, Katie. I'm not an expert at any of this, but I from my recollection, the city has like $30 million in uninstalled sidewalks that they're dealing with. And from what I recall, the way for them to fund ongoing repair of sidewalks would be for the voters to implement a sidewalk TIF, more or less, a tax increment financing where the neighborhood would pay into a pool, and that would get allocated to install new sidewalks and repair the ones that are already installed. But like I said, I'm not an expert, so I think this is a great thing to look into, and we can do a recommendation regarding that. So I had a comment from Jeff here.
Well, it's just gonna
Swear in Jeff first.
Oh,
Okay, I mean,
this is public comment, right?
yeah, this will be,
Okay.
we'll swear you in afterwards, but go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I've also in the same boat. I've been cited twice on the sidewalks. There are very many contractors who won't deal with these sidewalks because of the way that they are supposed to be done for ADA compliance. And the program, when you get put on the list, they run another $50,000 per year very quickly. It doesn't take very many jobs for them to stop doing that, and then you have to reapply it this year and next year, and they will be continue to be cited in the meantime. But I also noticed that the new ADA compliant ramps and sidewalks that they're putting in just in my neighborhood was replaced 2 years ago. They're already full of cracks, and so obviously they're not using great materials or great processes for the work they're doing. So kind of wouldn't trust the city to be doing it anyway, as it is. But I would be also more than willing to canvas to help
Yeah,
petition this.
well, I'll research it more too and get more information on how that works. And, you know, not very many people at $50,000, and I know I got a quote to do mine. Company, and they quoted me $4,000 just to replace the whole sidewalk. But then they run into problems too with the trees. If the trees are pushing those sidewalks up, and some of those trees have to be removed. I think the sidewalks is a huge issue. It's one that I'm very interested in. So I'd be willing to work with you. I think there's a sort of basically a policy issue that needs to be addressed here. That's very important. So anyway, I think we want to set up a subcommittee of sidewalks. I'd be glad to work on it.
It certainly doesn't have to be an official subcommittee. I think if interested parties are able to meet, I'd say go for it. Draft recommendations.
So we can
Make sure you talk to the relevant department heads and everything in the city, and then draft something up. So.
And Katie's reading on the 10th. Yeah. Thanks, and then you can work on it.
Maybe just if I can say this is deeply steeped in fact finding. So if you rush to the recommendation, they're gonna trip you up on financing and then spot on about the 30 million in outstanding debt to sidewalks unbuilt. So I think fact finding on the policy, zero interest loans, ability to repair or replace.
Right.
Contractor permitting, because the city's so stringent on who they allow to touch their sidewalks, most people don't want to.
Right.
So I encourage you to do big fact finding, and maybe even do this iterative to say, here's some facts for us to talk about versus rushing right to a recommendation.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
it iterative and really be mindful, because this isn't new. It's like the boulevard tree. We're all paid $15 or something. The only way they got the boulevard trees trimmed was through a SID TIF. You do a sidewalk TIF, again, you're gonna go $40-$45 per property to paying the pool. And then you got those who say, I'm paying the Paxton offering. So just
Right.
a lot of fact finding before to see what's reasonable argument that. Cause I'm with you. The sidewalks and boulevards and boulevard trees are the responsibility of adjacent housing. It's part of the capital. So it's tough.
Yeah.
Fact finding.
Well, I think it's unreasonable for them to put the burden on the homeowner, especially for a sidewalk repair, because who has the skills to do that? Not very many people.
It's the same with the maintenance. Why do we have to shovel? It's all part of that.
Well, shoveling's different. I think, that's pretty easy to do.
But that's the responsibility
Yeah.
assignment.
Right.
Right.
The vast majority of cities in the United States require the homeowners to
Shovel.
to take care of their sidewalks. There's only a handful of cities, of course, or towns that have a levy or tax or something that will cover that. Yeah, very few.
Okay, well, we have a packed agenda tonight, so we're gonna move on, but thanks for bringing that up, and I encourage you to look into that further, yeah. All right, do you have any commissioners online? Okay. So at this point, we will go into swearing in for Jeff Brown. We have a new HCC District 3 representative, so we'll swear you in real quick, and then we'll get going. Go ahead and stand. Raise your right hand. I state your full name.
I, Jeff Weston Brown,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Montana,
the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Helena,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Helena,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of the office of
of the office of
the Helena Citizens Council
Helena Citizens Council
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so you all got the minutes in your packet from last month. Unless there's any changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve. Unit as written.
For a second,
I'll second. Second.
moved by Lori, seconded by Diana. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, so since we do have a guest tonight, without objection, I'm gonna move new business above officer reports. So we have
Alicia.
Ryan with the BID, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We want to give you an opportunity to kind of describe what BID does and then some of your budget priorities for the next year.
Thank you very much, Ben. Hi, everybody. I'm Alicia Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of the Helena Business Improvement District. I've been with the BID for 8 months and I've almost lived in Helena for a year. So it's been a whirlwind. So my husband and I moved here from Moline, Illinois. It's across the Mississippi River from Davenport, a little area called the Quad Cities. And while we were there, I worked for 20 years with an international trade group called the American Rental Association. And we represented like United Rentals, Sunbelt Rentals, and then all the smaller rental stores throughout the world, mostly in the US. And I was Director of Government Affairs. In December of 23, they eliminated my position. We got a new CEO and he kind of went through cleaning house, so it was understandable. And my boss retired, so we had been coming out to Helena for 25 years to visit friends, and they were always like, "Come on, move out here, move out here." So right after I got eliminated, I went to my husband's office and I said, "Is it time to move to Helena?" And he said, "Yep, let's go." So we came out in the big snowstorm of January of 23, I think it was 24, and found a little place and really, really happy to make it home. Love Helena. And I got to tell you, I worked in government affairs for a long time at the federal and state level and dealt with property taxes on a very different, footing than you all are talking about. But it is so heartening to me to see truly representative government that you all provide through the HCC. Really wonderful. I know a lot of you. I've seen a lot of you around. I remember Bob came to one of our meetings, and Diana has visited us on occasion, and I see Ben at all the meetings. And I'm looking forward to getting to know the rest of you. But what you do is so important. You know, when I would go to Washington, D.C. and lobby on behalf of ARA, you're talking to the big names you see on the news, but you always wonder how much of an impact you really make. And you know, we worked on really big issues, tax issues where it takes a lot of people to move the rudder. But your involvement and the voice that you have and the impact you have with the city commission and the city council, it's refreshing, and it's great to be in the middle of it. So I'm very pleased to join you tonight. As far as the BID, I don't have budget documents to hand out to you yet because we're in the process of firming them up, and frankly, I didn't want you all to see it before my board did. But I think that our assessments have been a little uneven over the past 8 months due to property tax assessments. There's a lot of folks that are appealing them, you know, which is to be expected. I know it's a big issue right now. And of course, just so maybe you don't know, the BID is funded through property tax assessments on buildings in the district, the little boot-shaped district. So we run from Lindale pretty much up to Reader's Alley. So all of the building owners in that district, including the walking wall, pay a portion of their property taxes, and then that money is collected by the county, swept to the city, and then the city, sweeps into our account. We're considered to be a quasi-governmental entity. I don't have a real firm grasp on what that means, but we have an independent board. Our board is made up, we have 7 board members. They're appointed by the mayor, and they're all building owners or their representatives. So those are the folks that are, we have, open board meetings as Bob knows, every second Tuesday of the month at 3:30, we congregate at the BID office. I think it's a departure for the BID. We have 2 full-time staff now. And that's worked out great. My colleague in the office is Abigail Dolan. She is a wonderful young woman. She's volunteered and worked at a lot of places downtown. And she has taken on all of our website and all of our social media. So we do that all in-house now, which, saves us having to outsource that work. And we, can turn things around more quickly. We're doing planning to do a lot of the things that we've done in the past. So right now we're in the midst of our flower basket and flower barrel sponsorship. We've had quite a few people want the big baskets of colorful flowers and barrels. So we're accommodating that. We underwrite the cost of that. So we charge 100 for a barrel and 60 for a basket, 60 for a barrel and 30 for a basket. And then we underwrite the cost of that. And those will be coming like the first or second week of June. We still have our grants. We have event grants. You may know that DHI was dissolved in December of 23. And frankly, I'm still busy kind of cleaning up some of that stuff, getting the accounts over to the BID as was in their bylaws. But we still have grants. And the way that we do that is we offer event grants, for example, to businesses in the district who want to have events downtown, like Gold Rush Days coming up, like the Prickly Pear Run, the Governor's Cup, those kinds of folks. So they'll come to us with a proposal, and we have committees that look at that, and then the board votes on it, and then we give a check to them and participate that way. One new thing that we've done in line with these grants is we've kicked off a safety series, a safety series. The Parade of Lights was my first, on the job training, and I was just stunned at the number of people that were downtown. And I knew we had one police officer that had been hired off duty to direct traffic. So some of us kind of hopped into the mix and directed traffic. So I went to the city, I went to transportation, fire, and police, and I said, how about we help you with this? Let us underwrite some training for volunteers. And then once these folks are trained up, certified in crowd management, CPR, first aid, use of fire extinguishers, all of that, then we'll deploy them to help out at events to, provide more safety and security for some of the events downtown. We've been working on that, and we're in the middle of that when, the decision on the vigilante parade came out. And I think it helped move the needle in favor of the city being okay with the parade continuing to go through the walking mall, because we're very passionate about having extra people on the ground to keep people safe. You always have to worry about terrible events like active shooter or somebody driving the wrong way and trying to hurt people. But really, you really need to be more concerned, I think, day to day on people just having a heart attack at an event like that. So our goal is to have these trained up volunteers who will spread out throughout these events and put the city's mind at ease, put the people's mind at ease that come to the events, that they're going to have a safe, fun, family-friendly event. So we've started in on that. We've had 60 volunteers go through crowd management so far. So we're very heartened by that. The other grants that we have is we have a new business grant where we give 5 $1,000 grants to businesses that are new in the district, 3 months or newer. And the only thing we don't pay for is things that new business owners should already have covered, like payroll and that kind of thing. But if you need a sign, or you need some marketing done, or we have a new catering company that's going to be relocating downtown, and they needed some pots and pans and things to do their business. So we agreed to that. And we also have some event grants. Oh, the last one is facade grants. for older buildings that need new windows or new doors. We have up to $5,000 available to property owners and tenants that want to redo their facade. And it's a matching grant, so it has to be, if we're gonna give 5, they have to have spent 10. And we've given away, I think, almost all of those awards for this fiscal year, which will be wrapping up for us June 30th. We're also working with Visit Helena and the Chamber of Commerce on wayfinding. In lieu of the new museum opening up, we're going to replace those wayfinding signs. And I can tell you that the board has set aside $50,000 to do that in collaboration with the other 2 groups. All 3 groups, everybody is very excited about visitors coming to the museum, and then we want to provide the signage and all they need to come on downtown and spend their money and time. The Constitution Constitution Park bathroom project is moving forward. I'm working with Doug Smith, who is the director of parks. We have signed an initial contract with a group called In Contour, and they do landscape architecture. So we're going to do a topographical study of the park so that we know where all the pipes are, and there's a lot of electric and pipes there already. We want to know where all that stuff is before we start digging. I really don't foresee this being done this year. But I'm very certain it'll get done in 2026. And I know that's been a big priority for a lot of folks over the years. So I've told my board chairman, Seth Brandenberger, that if I get nothing else done, I'll get a bathroom in Constitution Park. Tim Burton, the city manager, I talk with him regularly on this, and it'll be something that is nice, that is architecturally similar to downtown. That is our goal. And something that kind of matches, doesn't stand out, but just kind of matches the architecture, and a place for people to go so they don't have to run into a store and buy some little thing because they need to use the restroom. You need that with the soapbox derby and all of the events downtown. Let's see, what else? Banners. Banners. We've got banners going up and down all over the place. So we had a banner contest the end of last year and put it out to public vote, and we do have a winner. We're going to be announcing that on May 3rd. The BID is hosting an event in front of 10 Mile, a Live on the Gulch event, where in collaboration with other nonprofits, I think the HACF is having a nonprofit fundraiser that week, and we'll be inviting other nonprofits to be there. And then I'm also going to invite the media, and we're going to unveil the new banners, the new summer banners that will be downtown, and give people a chance to talk to the winner. Can you repeat that date? May 10th. So that'll be fun. And then we've got, as I mentioned, banners going up for the Governor's Cup and Prickly Pear, and I'm missing somebody. I apologize. So that's up and going. We have 3 committees, and we're inviting everybody. If you'd like to join a committee, please join us. We have a promotion committee, a design committee, and an economic vitality committee. And they look at the grants that come in and make a decision. They give the committees yay or nay to the board, and then the board votes on those funds. But we're always looking for new people to join us. So think about that with all of your spare time. Banners, wayfinding, grants, safety, flowers, trees. I met Ben. I don't know his last name. He's with Growing Friends. Brower, that's right. Thank you. And we went out and looked at all of the not growing friends, primarily on Last Chance Gulch. There's some little trees that are really struggling for a number of reasons. And I've been led to believe that he has a grant, which we will be applying for to get some maybe bigger trees and have a better chance of surviving down there. It's kind of a tough environment there on the street, but also working with the Parks Department in the city and the arborist and growing friends to kind of spruce up the gulch. So we also, my colleague Abigail was recently appointed to the Public Arts Commission. And we are going to be looking at doing a couple of murals. The first one we're thinking about is a little triangle bit of building that's across from 10 Mile. It's on the side of the parking garage, and we'd like to do something kind of fun there for kids who are, looking for something to do while mom and dad enjoy a beverage. And then finding other groups to work with to do other murals throughout town, because I really think they liven the place up and bring a pop of color, and I think that would be nice to bring to Helena. But I love the old buildings. I should tell you that when I don't do this, I moonlight as a tour guide for the Foundation for Montana History. I did the Ghost Gulch tours last year. I started that before I got the BID job. And it was a great way to learn about the buildings and the streets, and kind of gave me a leg up. And this June, I'm going to be participating in one old Echoes of Helena, and it's going to travel the neighborhoods and talking a little bit about the different ethnic groups, the different people that came from Germany and all over the world to settle in Helena back in the day. So that's kind of how I scratch my history itch. So I've talked a lot. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Ben.
So regarding the budget process, you
Yes.
take your budget to your board,
Yes.
they approve it, and then when you report to the commission, what do they do? Do they have any leeway regarding what happens to the money?
I haven't been through the process yet. I've been told that it's well, I'm after the board looks at the budget, I send it to Sheila Danielson, and then she reviews it and then schedules it for review by the commission. But I've been told that it's a fairly easy process. Our budget was a little askew last year, and I'm going back over it to cut some more places so that we present a balanced budget to the city commission.
Thank you. Further questions?
I have one, does
Yes, Bob.
the PID communicate with the state or with anything with the tour train? Do you have any relationship involvement there between the VID and the tour train?
I do not yet.
Uh-huh.
I do not. I know when I go to Vision Helena meetings with Andrea and Callie that they have had a lot of conversations around that.
Thank you.
Yes, Lord.
One question. Yeah, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Is there anything in your budget that you would like us to support or help with that you feel like might not get approved through the commission? You feel is super important or anything new?
Actually the murals, if you all could, we want to put the one up, across from 10 Mile, and I think that we can pretty ably do that on our own. We want to involve the Holter kids and use it as a teaching exercise for them, have them, go through the experience of presenting an RFP and designs and all of that good stuff. But the rest that we have planned, we are looking for partners, to decide where and what, and yeah, that would be terrific. That would be terrific.
Go ahead, Vic.
Thank you for coming. I have a question about Constitution Park.
Yes,
The bathroom designs,
Uh-huh.
are we doing the Portland Blue design, or are we moving away from that?
we're moving away from the Portland.
Thank
It's
It's not
just-
like a design.
Yeah, I nobody told me that, but I figured that out pretty quickly. It's just gonna be a standard nice bathroom.
No gaps for people to peek in.
Right,
Perfect.
yeah, just
That's all I asked.
just a bathroom. Yeah, I was asked that by the city too, yeah.
All right, any further questions?
And I'm always available. Please call anytime. I would love to hear from you. And if you don't mind, I'd like to stay for the rest of your meeting and learn more about what all you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
People where your office is. Yes, we're at 330 Jackson Street. You may know the office as Kevin League's gallery. So he actually rents from us, but we look like we work for him. It's above the Montana Books. Above the Montana Book Company, right? And if you want to go to the book company, we still got. You can march right through and down the stairs, and there you are.
So you access it, thanks back. From Jackson, you don't do it from.
Yeah, we come in through Jackson. I have a lot of people. They're like, "Oh, I'm looking for the bookstore." I'm like, "Just go down the stairs."
Yeah.
We're friendly. We're just used to that. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for that update.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
more
all.
than welcome to stay for the.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we will move into officer reports. So, my report as chair, most of the stuff I've been working on this month, we're gonna talk about later in the meeting. So all I have to say is, next meeting, scheduled for May 28th will be our budget committee meeting. I'm gonna be in Denver. I'll be online and I'll chair the beginning of it. And since it's the budget committee meeting, we'll just, throw the chair over to Lori, who will be here in person. So there'll be a little bit of a change, but it'll be fine. So that's all I have for chair. Any questions?
Make sure that you can attend because we will be voting, so we'll need a quorum here. Either online, on Zoom, or here in the.
Yeah, and the budget recommendations are obviously half of our established charges in the charter, so it's one of our most important things. So please be there if you can. All right, Vice Chair.
Yes, please be there. Good job. Anyway, I wanted to remind everyone that you need to, I'm gonna say this wrong. Go down to the courthouse and file for our positions. So that for our window, so please get the word
Run
out
again.
to run again. Yeah, so.
It's the elections office.
Yeah, the elections office, yeah. So if you haven't already done that, do that soon. And gather some friends if you don't have a full district. So that was the only thing that I wanted to address.
It opened April 17th and it closes June 16th, and they're really strict about the closing date, so I would go the day before. Wants to do it at 6 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock on the closing date, and that didn't work.
All right,
Yes, we saw that. It has to be notarized. Do they have a notary there? Can you just show up and they'll notarize it for you?
Yes, all you gotta do is show up and,
You'll have to.
fill out the form, know which text, it's pretty easy, it's simple. Yeah. Okay.
all right, no, you're fine. Secretary,
I don't have anything.
treasurer,
I think for the treasurer report, as of today, our current balance for HCC is $1,147. Expenditures that we've paid since the last meeting are some expenses we had with the transportation open house for $106.50. The tote bags that everyone should have gotten or can get for each elected member of the HCC for $182. Business cards with our updated phone number, information, QR code for $69, and our water bill insert that talked about the HCC and it advertised the transportation open house. So that's where we're at. I will go into more about our budget when we do our budget committee update. Unless you want me to do it now.
we can make.
Hmm?
We can make with that. Okay, any questions for officer reports? Seeing none, we'll move on. So at this point, we'll move into unfinished business, and we have updates regarding the LeGrand Cannon recommendation. That was the recommendation we saw in March. We gave you a little bit of an update. Or I'm sorry, we saw it in February. Gave you a little bit of an update in March that there was some friction with the city manager's office, and Diana authored some amendments to that recommendation for reconsideration. So I'll hand the floor over.
Thank you, Ben. I thought this was such a slam dunk. And
Ben mentioned that the city manager objected to some of the language in our February recommendation. It's not inaccurate, but he objected to some of the language. Specifically, he objected to the statement of the city's intention at the time to donate or vacate its right of way. So there's a red line in your packet. Everybody have a copy of the red line? So I changed a little bit of the language. I took out what I thought was the most objectionable language. I'm a little conflicted about doing this because it's not inaccurate, but I weighed that, at least my internal conflict there, with at least my interest in, and I hopefully you share it, in getting this recommendation into a public discussion at a commission meeting. And the city manager has made pretty clear that he would not he has the administrative duty of putting together the commission's agenda for their Monday commission meetings. And he made it pretty clear that he wasn't going to put our February recommendation on the commission's agenda. And I'm a little puzzled by this because we're an independent publicly elected body set up to advise the commission. And so it seems like an administrative task that the city manager would do to put together the agenda. But it seems to be a barrier currently to getting on the commission's agenda. So I'm hoping that I'd like to hear what you think of this revised recommendation. If you don't like this and want to stick with the February one, that still stands unless we take it back or something, because we passed it as a body unanimously, Peggy sent it to the commission. But I took a run at updating the recommendation with the hope that maybe this would be more palatable and actually result in a public discussion, because there's a lot of public interest in protecting the Grand Canyon. And while the city manager has said that the city has no intention of changing the current use as a walking and biking path, and has no intention to open it up to vehicular traffic, short of vacating the right of way, or maybe there's some other legal means that I have not been able to identify despite lots of conversations. And I'm concerned that a different city manager, a different city commission could take other steps and it wouldn't be protected in the future. So that's why the language is as if or other means, vacate the right of way or through other legal means. Anyway, that's the recommendation. I'm opening it up to questions and concerns, thoughts.
I apologize, Diana, that as you see on the screen, the red lines don't show up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But everyone's been given a copy.
Okay, we can tell the difference.
Well, but online. They've been given the information at home, so.
All right, so at this point, we will open the floor for discussion or questions.
I have a comment. Some of us in the executive committee met with the people from Parks and the other person, I can't remember. But it seemed to them, and I wonder if we could maybe put vacating the public right of way. They seem to feel like there was a particular time that needed to be done, or like we don't want to do it too soon or we'll ruin everything. If we could just put in the appropriate time period or something like that, or other permanent means, you know what I mean? So that we heard them, they don't want to do it now because they felt like that would affect the outcome of what they're planning.
Yeah, it's not clear to me why. I agree. I mean, they did say that they wanted to tie it to the final plat approval for the phase 1 of the West Sidewood subdivision. It's not clear to me why you would need to tie those two together. It's a pretty straightforward legal process to remove a right of way. And like why tying it to the annexation of, and the city already has the land, it's already been annexed. So to me, it's an unnecessarily tie and delay. So I mean, that would be my thought to that recommendation.
Question of Diana. My understanding is that the reason you're changing the language, that if we were to adopt new language, is to allow this to get to the commission. And it would seem to me that this should be sufficient. If it gets to the commission, then they can have the discussion about what the timing is in a public forum so people can hear it. And so it seems to me I'm prepared to move to approve this changed recommendation, but we should have more discussion. But it seems to me the main thing is to get it to the commission so there can be a public discussion on this, right? Not having it be held up indefinitely.
I definitely agree with Lori and her statement and the time frame. I think showing the commission that we've actually done more due diligence, and which you have, we recognize the time frame that the city has proposed. I'm a little leery about voting on it right now because we did do that. You did do that diligence. That you should give the city an opportunity to do what they said they're going to do. So if they're saying that they're going to do that, this will happen during this time frame of when they, whatever this subdivision is. I think to have a good relationship with their city and to mend those fences, because we did reach across those barriers, to just keep it on the docket to make sure that it happens when that happens, and then we can have this kind of a discussion. But you know, it's a tricky situation that we're in. We know that the city manager doesn't want to bring it forward, and I don't think he will bring it forward even with these changes because of that fact. So I think it would be nice to kind of table it and wait and see what that's.
We don't know. During that meeting, we asked if there was a time frame for when the Westside Woods final plat was going to be approved, and they didn't know. It was supposed to be last year, it could be the summer, it could be this fall, it could be some other time. So we don't know what that time frame is. And the concern I've been hearing from the Trails Alliance and others is that they seem to think that there's as long as until the right of way is vacated, this is at risk of being opened up to the regular companies. That's so I hear what you're saying. I'm not quite sure how to get this before.
I guess the other thing we might want to do for due diligence is to go directly to the people that are trying the subdivision and ask them. So go to them directly. Whoever's doing that subdivision, who's planning on to know?
Well, the subdivision is Sussex. The Sussex Construction Company is they're developing the Westside Woods subdivision. The right of way is on city property. Ask them when they expect the final plat to come through.
Yeah, make a connection with Sussex and the West Side subdivision and get different, make all the connections that we can to bring a very strong proposal. So when the Sussex brings this proposal to the commission, we can have a recommendation with it, if you understand. So we keep an eye on it very closely, and when it would be coming up into the commission. So people that are viewing the commission, we need to keep an eye on it. That's what I would propose. And I think it'd be stronger when the commission is actually voting on it than just putting it 6 months to 8 months prior to when the subdivision will get voted on.
Yeah.
And they'll forget by then. So it's just an idea.
You still need the city manager to approve it before it goes to the commission. So if you were to prepare all this, you'd still have to get a manager, get him to allow it to move forward. You can't we wouldn't be able to kind of surprise the commission with this on the coattails of the subdivision, right?
Just for some context on that, the city manager sets the agenda. However, when we pass the recommendations, they go to the commission and the city manager, and the commission can task the city manager to put something on the agenda. So if there's enough support to have this discussion on the commission, regardless of whether the city manager wants to put it on there, they can task him to do that, per my understanding. The reason why I didn't make the last the last round was because there was some contention over the facts. So, that's kind of where we're at right now.
I would advocate to move forward to this new recommendation simply because we only need once a month. And this is already, you already started planning this months ago. And to put it on indefinite hold while we talk to a construction company about when might a subdivision happen. I think we should give the city commission an opportunity to look at this again with the new wording.
Is there further discussion?
I'm prepared to move because I agree with you totally. I think all we're saying is this should be protected as a non-motorized trail. It already is. This is not radical. It's part of our mission to do this, and we've been asked to do it. So I would move that we accept the recommendation, send it on to the commission as written.
One grammatical change. In the first sentence next to April 2025 would be it February 2026. Would it be its February 2026 25 recommendation?
Yes.
ITS. Thank you. So the first sentence of the recommendation.
So I would change my,
The second underlined word.
I would change
should
my
be
motion to
possessive.
include that,
Yeah.
that edit.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
So it's the second paragraph, second line.
From the top. And then second line in there.
Reviewed its.
These are almost there.
Right there.
Oh, which is, okay.
It's non-substantive and it seems to be friendly, so we'll accept that on the floor. Unless there's any, objection. Okay. Once we exhaust the speakers list, we'll go into automatic, motion to approve. I wanted to kind of, I support this, I support passing this tonight, because I think that, there's a lot of public, angst to have a hearing regarding this, and I know that, there could also be some desire from the commission to have this passed tonight as well. I have a little bit of a hesitancy in asking them to vacate the right of way. I think because one, this is completely out of my area of expertise. I'm not a lawyer and I don't deal with any of this stuff, but my understanding was that vacation of the right of way would come into consideration after the completion of West Side Woods. And it seemed like the city was not ready to have that conversation prior to the completion, but we could have the conversation about permanently protecting the public right of way.
As long as we keep the language, if you don't mind, we just
Sure, go
recently,
ahead.
as long as we keep the language to permanently protect, I don't personally care how they do it, but in all the conversations I've had, it just keeps coming back to the only way to permanently protect it is to vacate the right of way. So we can take that wording out, and I would be fine with that, as long as we keep in permanently protect.
I would think that we should leave it in. It's a very standard language that is used when a right of way is might possibly have allowed cars, no longer allows cars. This is pretty standard language, and as long as we have the four other permanent means, we're not saying you have to do it our way, but it's something that I think is standard in this kind of procedure.
And as part of the due diligence that I talked about at our March meeting, I did go back to the people who were involved in the land donation, and that was the discussion, vacating the right of way. So I'm sure they would really appreciate keeping that language in, whatever the HCC wants.
I was just gonna second her comments about as long as we keep the other permanent means. I think we can satisfy everybody as long as we keep it.
Is other permanent means a legal way of protecting it, or is it just saying that you aren't going to put up building there to block it, but you'll always have a way to get through that may also include vehicles. Like, it seems like it's much weaker than saying it correctly.
I think it is weaker. I've talked to, I've had way too many conversations about this. Trying to figure out, so if they don't vacate the right of way, is there any other way? And I have been unable to identify, talking to people who do this kind of stuff all the time. They're like, no, as long as the right of way exists, someone in the future could petition to the city to open that up to vehicular traffic. So I think it's, I mean, Jeff, to your point, it's much stronger if we leave vacate the right of way.
We're making a recommendation to the commission. We're not making the decision. They will be the ones who decide to protect it and how. And so I think we don't need to micromanage the language too much because they're the ones who are going to make the decision anyway. Whether it's vacating the right of way or some other means.
However we word it, do we have a guarantee that it will go to the commission, or could city manager not do it at all?
If we pass a revised recommendation, it'll get emailed to the commissioners and the city manager.
I mail it to everyone who says it's passed. So
So
they have the
it'll-
last one as well.
It will.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will move into an automatic roll call vote on the recommendations. Since it was on the agenda. Yes, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, okay, get your name, Lori Fitzgerald.
Yay.
John Andrew,
Aye.
Diana Glimmer,
Aye.
Pat Pitt.
Aye.
Amber Dodd. Yes or no for our motion to pass this new recommendation about LaGrange County? Yay or nay? You have to turn on your voice.
Is that me? Yes.
Katie Ryan,
Aye.
Anna Kratz,
Aye.
Dylan Plattmeyer,
No.
Bob Hobbeck, Denise Rothbarber.
Aye.
So it's you.
Well, thank you for your time. I'm sorry, it's taken up so much of the house.
All right, so with that, we'll move into budget committee updates.
Okay, yes, budget committee updates. Okay, so as everybody knows, we have 8 fine folks on our budget committee, and we have been attending meetings that started April 2nd. They have them every 2 weeks, dedicated to budget presentations. And I'm not gonna go into them because that's what we need to do as a committee, is get into the weeds with these, but to date, we have heard from finance with kind of an overview and then their particular budget, HR, fire, police, community development, the city manager, the city attorney, and the clerk of the commission so far. Overall, nothing earth shattering. Most people are asking for status quo budgets, a few small, equipment or some training money or whatever, nothing. I think that's giant for us. Of interest, several departments have federal grants that are on hold right now. And revenue is being calculated based on these grants going through. So that's kind of a question mark, I think. And a couple other things of interest just quickly. When we were talking about the capital budget, there was quite a huge capital carryover from last year for projects they didn't completed last FY, like 1.5 million. So they're really gonna try to get those things completed this year. Of interest, there's no further funding for sustainability projects, so things that the CCB wants and stuff, that's gonna have to be looked at. The HVAC for the civic center is gonna cost $1 million more than they had planned on, so maybe that'll take all the capital carryover, I don't know. And they're still gonna fund a potential study to look at the safety of the walking home. That was one thing. So if there's any other interest in topics, let me know and we can talk about it. But the main thing that I would like to note with all these meetings and presentations that the city clerk's presentation was given just this last meeting that we went to, and Anne was there, and Ben and I. And she's proposing a significant change to Peggy's position, which is our admin support, from half an FTE to a full FTE. But in doing so, and saying that they will adjust personnel time and the costs into their budget, taking it out of the HCC budget, like Peggy's salary and all those things that go with it. So for those who don't know, Peggy provides 20 hours per week and more to our group, make sure it's efficient, doing agendas, doing, you know, neighborhood outreach, doing tote bags, doing, you know, open houses, many things that are 20 hours and more. And the clerk, apparently on paper, I haven't seen it, wants to reduce that to maybe around 8 hours per week from 20.
Legally on paper, it says 4.
Oh, really? It says 4?
Well, instead of 40 hours is 4 hours.
Oh, so that we have great concern about this, even though during her presentation, she assured the group that there would be no change to the support for the HCC. But we just don't feel like that's maybe something that we can hang our hat on. So we've had discussions in our executive committee, and that we will definitely have an opinion and discussion in our budget packet that we give to the commission, outlining all of the things that we need and why this is not going to be appropriate. Although we've had some other discussions, and maybe we need to write a specific letter to the commission with that item in addition, in case it goes too far before the budget. You know, so we can get something to them if we voted on something in May, get it to them before the budget's approved in June. And I wanted to get people's feedback on what we think about that. Do you think having something well laid out in the budget recommendation is sufficient? I think that's kind of Ben's preference, but
yeah,
open to whatever.
So I met with the clerk, when was that? Thursday? It was about a week ago. And just for a little bit of context, she didn't loop anyone on the HCC in on this until like less than a month ago. By that time, the position had already gone through HR and been approved at certain percentage of time allocation. I asked her in that meeting to update the support for the Helena Citizens Council job duty to 20%, which would be 8 hours. She then got that approved through HR. So we're approved to 20% time administrative support for Helena Citizens Council, 30% for records management, and 50% for, let me get the exact term, administrative support to commission/legislative services. And how the clerk has explained this to me is that she said that most of the administrative support in legislative services will encompass the 12 extra hours that we're accustomed to. The 8 hours of direct support to Helena Citizens Council is secretarial and clerical work, proofread a variety of reports, assist in development of forms, prepare, verify, and review forms, establish and maintain a complete set of record keeping, maintain and update resource materials, and coordinate financial records. Everything else that we're accustomed to would fall within legislative services because we fall within the legislative branch. I'm worried because on paper, administrative support to the Hellenic Citizens Council is 20%, and that's 8 hours. I trust the clerk in that she will allow us to have access to staff whenever we need it, but there could be turnaround in the clerk's position, there could be turnaround in the HCC, and that understanding could be lost. So I'm a little concerned that on paper we're losing hours. I don't think in practice, at least for now, regardless of what gets passed, I don't think we will. But like I said, it's still cause for concern in my opinion. To kind of tailgate off of what Lori was saying, in my opinion, I think we should keep this all within the budget recommendations. I know that there are other people who believe that a straight letter to the commission regarding this is appropriate. I don't disagree. I just have an opinion one way or another. So whatever you all decide to do, we're good with. So with that, we'll just Denise, go ahead.
You have your hand raised, Denise. Do you have a question?
I have a comment, but not related to the budget committee. So I'm not sure when you want me to, I don't want to interrupt this conversation with my comment, but maybe before we move on to the commission attendees reports after the budget discussion.
I'll make note of that. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Any discussion regarding the update? Go ahead.
I thought a lot about this because it seems like a drastic step, and I thank you for bumping it up. But I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to figure out exactly, anyone who wants to, what we think our priorities should be. Because it seems to me that we, the HCC, should be determining however many hours we have, what the priorities are for that staff person, because it may not always be Peggy. In fact, it probably won't be Peggy someday. And I think we're in a stronger position to ask for more hours if we have set out here are the things that we actually absolutely need, because I'm very uncomfortable with it being lumped into somebody else in the clerk's office legislative. I mean, budgets are going to be tight. We're going to be trying to ask more people to do more with less. So what I'm proposing is anyone who wants, I'm on the budget committee, so I'd be glad to review these. Write down what we feel our priorities are. For instance, I'm reaching out to my district. I really, really want support staff. I'm a terrible record keeper, absolutely terrible. I need support staff to keep track of all the constituents that I meet, and so that we can reach out to them. This takes time. I don't know how much time, but if we can set our priorities, Lori, would you be willing to, if I'd be willing to work on this? I think between now and next meeting, I would encourage all of us to set down what are our absolute priorities for the staff person, because I think we might be able to show we really need 16 hours, right? I mean, we're agreeable. We may not need 20, but maybe we need 17. And we're in a stronger position to ask for that if we've shown them, here's what we absolutely need.
There's a lot of math here, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So currently we have a half FTE. They want to go to just one FTE, so that's 40 hours. But they want to do 50% admin support, legislative services, 20% direct support, and 30% record keeping. Did I get those percentages right?
Yeah.
So who is the record keeping for? Is it for the legislative services, admin support, or for HCC? Because if it's record keeping for us, then it's basically the same. We're getting our 1/2 FTE and they're getting 1/2 FTE. And I don't see any problem with that. I'm just concerned, who are you record keeping for?
I know that the updated job description hasn't been emailed to the group. We'll get that out to all of you. But it appears to me that under records management, there's something I think to do with HCC. It's going to be all records keeping regarding the clerk and other city admin staff.
So they're getting a 70% and we're getting a 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. On paper, yes.
Maybe so great.
Yeah.
They may be getting 80% too, right?
Yeah.
Most you ask for is
80
20%.
Oh, right, yeah, I was adding the wrong math, 80%.
And do you want to be full-time?
Well, I'm not gonna answer that question. I have not yet made my decision, but both Ben and I were a bit blindsided. when this happened. Things are going along great. I like working part-time. Nobody's made any complaints. I've never had one personnel evaluation in 6 years. It's just, yeah, everybody's happy. Why rock the boat? So some of us see it as they just wanted our budget monies to fulfill their own budget. But who knows what's true, but I think they're able to change the job at will if they so wish.
Emily, go ahead.
Hi, so I was struggling a little bit to follow along, but correct me if I'm wrong. They have a halftime FTE, which is Peggy. She reports to them, but she does all of the administrative work for Helena Citizens Council. They have now requested and received another halftime, essentially FTE, to make one full-time FTE, which is well and good. And they want to combine Peggy's duties into this one job. Can they not just have two halftime FTE and leave Peggy as she is, and then look at changing it through attrition when Peggy moves on from this job? Can they not talk about changing things then rather than changing things right now?
So yeah, your description is accurate according to my understanding, and we did ask if they could just hire another half-time to do admin work, and they said that was not on the table. I wasn't quite understanding their reasoning.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It's more expensive for benefits, but I didn't get that far into the loop.
I'm on Medicare.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to see the math.
Right, Pat Vick?
Yes. First of all, I object to the city just springing this on the HCC without any kind of process to consider what the HCC's needs are. But we're being directed by apparently the city clerk's office to define our needs and half the time that Peggy is now devoting to us. And I think that's highly objectionable. I agree with Anne entirely that an analysis of what we need in the HCC and coming back to the city with a clear position on the time that we need for an administrative assistant, and aligning the details of what that job would be. The city clerk, does not work with us, so she is a bit maybe perhaps unaware of what all of the incredible things that Peggy does in the course of a month to keep this organization going. So I think that analysis would be very useful and in a retort that would be very well informed. And yeah, it's disturbing to me that that the city would make a recommendation without any consultation with us. So, another thing about the benefits, if insurance, health insurance is not an issue with Peggy, that's a terrific thing. But also, the studies that the state of Montana have done on shared work, 2 part-time positions, doing 1 FTA, really clear that, and Peggy, demonstrates this with all the hours that she puts in, really clear that the productivity is so much greater with 2 half-time positions, doing 1 full-time job, 1 full-time at 1 FTE, even though there's need to pay twice the benefits or some formula to that effect. The productivity is so much greater that it's worth it. So thank you.
Well, Pat, at a meeting we were told, this is Peggy, that it's so hard to find persons to fill part-time positions, and I completely disagree. Anyone would love to have my job and work remotely. Working remotely is not a thing of the past, it's the way of the future. I have a child that works for NASA that works from home. Ben works somewhat from home. A lot of people have hybrid positions. I just don't think that's at all an issue, but again, it's not my choice.
Diana?
I was going to ask the same question that Emily did. Why not just have this be 2 part-time positions? And I completely agree with Pat's point that I worked part-time, and boy, I worked a lot more than my 20 hours. I know that. And I think that's absolutely true. So I'm just reiterating what others have already said.
And I literally think I could find someone to find this position. If it was still semi-remotely and part-time, I think I could find 5 people in a week that would take it.
If you know your work best, could you complete your current workload in 8 hours a week instead of 20?
I do not think so.
All right.
No.
So I like where Ben's going, and I do appreciate you've already gotten to the well and doubled 4 to 8. So if there was a generic profile, HCC coordinator duties, it's got to be generic enough to withstand time. Outreach, activities and support, 4 hours per week. Budget review support, 4 hours per week. Projects of interest, 2 major projects for any time. There's 16 hours just in describing Peggy's work broadly enough to where it can withstand time. Let's not say specific projects, but these are what we expect of the coordinator. That gets it fairly quickly to 16. That's a nice compromise. And to Ben's point, then we wait to see if this legislative support does trickle back. But a very broad statement, because Ben, you read, and the job description is for classification purposes. It's not necessarily the gospel on how you run anybody if you've been in government. And to the point of FTEs, you have to have an FTT legislative approved or approved to combine 2 halves to a whole. You can't just dial the half an FTE. I've done enough hiring. You have to have positions on the book that have been approved. Which ones are vacant? There's a 0.2, there's a 0.15. Let's cobble together. So I'm not defending them, but there may be administrative reasons why there's not 2 halves to make it total. Or there can't be just 2 halves. There's more to hiring. But I support where we're going of a broader description of the coordinator duties that we come to expect for support to do our core business. We never had a coordinator years ago. We had a Vista course, we had the secretary, and we had nothing. And we've grown into being very powerful, which could be a problem, group. So Peggy could be in the best position to describe her major buckets of support. Outreach for sure. Finance, because that's our core duty, and 2 projects of community interest at any one time. That just seems, there's a lot of minor stuff too. But that's 16 hours all day. And then where would we do it then? Would we do it through the fiscal retort? I'm a little shy of giving them nasty gram letter recommendation saying this is what we want. I like the fiscal route to say this is what we need. But I defer to you, Ben, because you've got a good handle on. There's relationships here too. But we can't be pushed over twice. Burton has a gatekeeper to elected bodies, no bueno. And now they're taking Peggy away. It's true.
Well, another concern I have is we have to publicly notice our District 1 meets pretty regularly, and sometimes we have to change the meeting with just a little bit of notice. I'm concerned that if this is reduced to just 10% of 40 hours, which is 4%, or maybe now it's 8%, so 20%. Are we going to how are we going to publicly notice as we're required to do? Are we going to have the clerk of commission call the office? If it's not Peggy, who are we finding? Are they going to be responsive? That's another big concern because she does provide so much support for us. And Peggy, you're so awesome and you're so responsive.
Oh, I like the job. I don't like the changes that are being considered.
Sorry, just to tack on to that. In addition, I think that there would be concerns not only about the responsiveness, but Peggy is in charge of wrangling and managing 28 volunteers. We have subcommittees that meet and we require someone to be there to take our meeting minutes and do the public notice. So if we had someone who was only available to us 8 hours, 16 hours a week, that severely limits the times, like the availability of meeting times for 28 different people, which is already hard to find time for everyone to meet where we're available. And then I also was looking at, just throwing this out there, I'm looking at their packet for their budget, their budget presentation, and they are saying that they're going to split Beginning in fiscal year 2025, the Office of the City Commission and the Clerk of Commission will be divided into two separate divisions, Legislative Services and Records Management. So they're already proposing that this one full-time FTE is going to be serving two separate divisions. So I really don't understand why it wouldn't make more sense to start by splitting it into two half-time FTE and then revisiting it through attrition. That would make the most sense, I think, in this situation.
Some of the job description was a bit demeaning. I have a Bachelor of Science degree. I've managed several programs, lots of volunteers over the years. So yeah, some of the work is like, being an office gopher, I don't know how appealing that is.
Bob, what were the three areas that you said?
3 buckets, like this 4th bucket called general administrative support. So outreach activities is something important to us, and we've seen that we're keeping busy. The budget review, even though that's concentrating, you can annualize that to 4 hours per week. And then 2 major projects of interest. At any one time, I think we carry 2 big things that we like. You know, the LeGrand Canyon is an example. There's always non-motorized. There's always some, but just two makes sense.
The
And
meeting
then
at the
some
Civic Center in the library, those happen within one fiscal year.
Yeah. It seems, reasonable support. And then the 4th bucket would be general administrative support, minutes, website, member outreach, and website currency with people who may leave comments or something. You know, we have a new member tonight, but that's going to take some time to update the website and send us out the new membership. So there's 4 buckets. Maybe that gets going. Right. 4, 4, 4, 4.
And in the interest of saving money, I also do all the design work. I design help redesign the logo, do the business cards, do the tote bags, do the yard signs. We don't pay people.
Yeah,
to
and
do
all of the website management.
all the website management. That's getting on there a couple times a week. I don't envy the person that gets to learn it if I do leave.
Social media posts as well.
Yes, and Facebook.
Any further discussion or comments? Okay, so I think if there is a desire to have a separate letter or recommendation regarding this, feel free to draft that. I think obviously this will have to go in our budget recommendations as well, and our next meeting is going to be the budget meeting. So we can tackle either both of those things or just address this in the budget recommendations, whatever we all want to do. So, Pat.
I was going to suggest that perhaps we could just have a little side committee, an ad hoc committee, to kind of draft a recommendation on this issue specifically. In addition to, the budget recommendations that we'll be making, and have that ready for the next meeting.
Yeah, if you'd like to do that, I'd encourage you to spearhead it. I don't want to call it an ad hoc committee though. Just get interested parties involved.
Let's be clear on the ask. Is the ask to have more guaranteed commitment from Peggy's new position to the HCC versus amending the job description yet again? Now be real clear about where we're directing the ask, because now you're going back to the HR director to rewrite and have signatures. I mean, that's a big deal. Ben already did a big deal for us. So just as Patty goes through this, what's the ask? It results in 20 hours.
I would
Handshake commitment or rewrite of the job.
I would encourage whoever's going to offer this. It feels like Pat's going to be the volunteer to do whatever they feel they would. From my viewpoint, it's going to be very hard to get 2 part-time FTE. That doesn't mean that you can't recommend it to the commission and then we can't make our case. I just know that they've already done all of the policy stuff regarding HR. We weren't invited to those conversations. I don't think we were required to be there for policy. And I do think that it's more viable, this is just my opinion, to get 50% dedicated time to HCC. That said, I want to repeat, do whatever you feel is appropriate, and we'll consider it.
Would it be possible to have the recommendation lay out both options so we can say that we're amenable to both options? We just want 50% of an FTE some. Or sorry, 50% of an FTE.
That could work, yeah, but it would have to. Yeah, that could work. All right, anything else before we move on? Pat, are you good?
Yes.
Anything else?
Well, just to continue with a little bit with this budget that the clerk presented, in the midst of her doing that, she did not include anything that we had asked for FY 26, which was, you know, doing open houses, perhaps doing a block party, you know, doing the yard signs. There were things, anticipated expenses that we had gotten approved last meeting.
You all have it in your packet here. It looks like.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. But anyway, in what she presented for the budget for the HCC was pretty much just basic costs like office supplies, printing and advertising, like, you know, and then the cell phone that Peggy uses and that type of thing. And then the reduced salary, which was significant. So somehow the other stuff was overlooked. So we probably want in our budget document to also reflect these expenses that we anticipate that we need to have in there also. And I'm done with the budget.
All right, so with that, we will move on. Denise, go ahead.
Well, it kind of works that I'm making this comment in between these two conversations because, or after the two. I am very concerned that the city manager has inserted himself as a gatekeeper between the HCC and the city commission with regards to just getting something on an agenda that he doesn't like. As we all know, our form of government is set up to have it where the commission directs the city staff, starting with the manager. But we all also know in reality, the city manager is running the show. And I just want to know if other members are concerned, because regardless of the LeGrand Cannon change that we made to, you know, strategically try, the end game is to get this right of way taken care of. I understand, you know, Diana's strategy and I agree with it, but that just, is that what we're going to have to do every time we propose something to the commission that the manager doesn't like? And I don't know what to do about it. I don't have a suggestion. I wish we had some friendly on the commission who we could sit down and talk with and say, this is what's happening. Can you put a stop to this? We are going to have going to have a new mayor, one way or the other. We're going to have a new commissioner. Probably, yeah, I think, yeah. Anyway, I don't have a solution or an answer, but I guess I wanted to gauge the rest of HCC and say, are you okay with this? I'm not okay with this. And I don't want to just figure out how can we contort ourselves and our recommendations so that the city manager can approve of them so that he can get it before the agenda, before the commission. I think that's a dangerous precedent, and I'd like to try and figure out how to curtail it. So I don't know how other people feel, but I'm very concerned, as usual, about how the city is treating the HCC.
I don't have anything to add, but I agree with Denise's concerns.
Yeah, just to kind of give my context on the communications that they're going down. So we obviously have like a 2-sentence charge in the city charter, and there's a relationship between the HCC and the commission. But in reality, there's also so many other stakeholders going on within city business, and yeah, I would like to hear suggestions as well on how to proceed with these kind of issues. My consideration was that, hey, if we have three stakeholders being the HCC, the city manager, and the commission, and if the HCC and the commission want something on the agenda, the commission can get the city managers to do that. Let's say there was an instance, this is going to be really ridiculous, but say that the HCC recommends that the city of Helena divert all of its tax funds to a moon colony. I don't think anyone's going to be on board with that, and it would probably stir up a bunch of public strife over something that nobody's truly considering. And in that way, I could see it could be reasonable for that not to hit an agenda. But I think, yeah, this is a problem that isn't addressed in the charter, and something that, you know, we're kind of playing by ear. So Jeff, go ahead.
Is this consistently happening?
No, this is first time. Paige.
I am concerned because we come here to represent people of Helena and their concerns. And it feels like their concerns are being pushed on the wayside. We'd have more luck if we just showed up to their meetings during public comments, and we're supposed to be serving the constituents, but honestly, the constituents would be getting more effective use of their time if we keep limboing around everything and tiptoeing and walking on eggshells. If they just went and did it themselves, and then they see us as useless, which if this keeps happening, I kind of see their point. So I think this is just a very frustrating thing to deal with. Like, maybe the language that we used in our recommendation wasn't perfect. Okay, that doesn't mean that that is what is going into law. That is what we are presenting. That is what they are to discuss. It's not the final thing. It's just us saying, here's what we think. Do what you want with it. Here's what the citizens think. Yes. Mm-hmm.
You just have to.
Given that there's an election coming up, I think maybe one way is to meet with Emily Dean, who's running for mayor, and any commission candidates, and talk about this issue. And we'll be able to have some opportunities to do that over the next months. And I think a one-on-one or, you know, small group conversations might be the most effective.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that the city council or the city commission will essentially delegate to the manager whether or not, so that they can decide, whether or not to put something on to the agenda. So did the city commission see this proposal and then tell the manager to decide? We didn't see it.
So the city commission did see the original recommendation. The city manager voiced his concerns, and we agreed to have further conversations because at the time we hadn't consulted with the departments and they had a different viewpoint that they wanted to present. We felt, myself and the chair felt, or the author felt, that that was a reasonable ask, that we would hear the city out. So that's what we did.
So what essentially happened, we passed the recommendations at a Wednesday meeting. The next morning, I sent it to all the commissioners, the mayor, and the city manager. And I immediately got a phone call from the city manager saying, "I'm to put this on the agenda." So that sort of started the ball.
And will we continue to do that? Send it to the commission and the city manager as a CC?
That was our.
They're gonna get it.
Yeah.
They're
So
always
that's why I
gonna
almost sent it to everyone. It's public knowledge.
Yeah, that was our MO. We've always done it that way. This was just the first time where we had that hiccup where the city manager didn't agree with the facts that we had on there. So
In our history of sending recommendations to the commission, every recommendation we've sent has gone before the commission and has eventually gotten onto commission agenda. Is that accurate?
no, every recommendation that we've passed in the last, I think, 2 or 3 years has, because following that conversation we had with the city commission, the city manager, and the local government committee, or local government group, they agreed that they would start putting our recommendations as an agenda item, so that we could address it publicly. Because before, if you recall, we would pass a recommendation, send it to the commission, and it never got on the agenda as an official item, so the commission didn't feel comfortable making public comments about it. So, yes, so far, everything except for this last recommendation over the last 2 years or so has made the agenda. Yeah.
I share Denise and some of the concerns that have been expressed here. My memory is that something came before the commission that hasn't yet been passed, but it was a system where the city manager would indeed determine which recommendations from committees would be sent on to the commission, which would be deep six and which would be held. And I believe this hasn't been voted on yet, but I think it's something we should watch very carefully and also try to exempt ourselves, whether or not we believe it for other committees, and we should try to make a recommendation on that, exempt ourselves because we are an independent elected body. But there is that proposal. I believe that we were at the meeting where it happened. And so we need to watch this because it looks to me like what we're experiencing now is an example of what is some people at least are trying to institutionalize.
Yeah, my understanding of that is that yes, that is something we need to watch, but my understanding is that we're already exempted from that. I could be mistaken, but the other boards, since they're not elected, they serve at the pleasure of the commission. Their recommendations are vetted in a different way than ours are. Ours, we're kind of in this weird limbo where our policy isn't completely clear, and we just have that single charge in the city charter. So we're kind of working through those hiccups.
I have a concern with that also. So the city commission appoints members to advisory boards, and the purpose of the advisory boards is to advise the commission. So when the city manager inserts himself in this case into that flow of communication between the advisory board and the commission, that also seems inappropriate. It's a different issue than we're a independent publicly elected body advising the commission versus an appointed advisory board, but it still concerns me that an unelected employee of the city is inserting himself in between the advisory board and the commission, or the HCC, independent publicly elected body, in the commission. So I have the same concern, just a little slightly different.
Do you have any further comments or stuff?
Just one more. So did the city commission, any city commission members look at the original LeGrand recommendation and say, I want this on the agenda, or were they kind of like, I don't know, and they sent the city manager on their behalf to say, redo it?
There's support for the general idea from at least one that I've heard of. I don't know about the others before.
And in talking to the folks involved in the land donation, at least one current city manager has requested that LeGrand Canyon Trail be on the commission agenda, and that was even before our recommendation, and it has yet to be on the commission agenda.
I'm just worried, like, is the city manager doing this out of his own interest, like, for lack of a better word or phrase, or is he doing it in the interest of the city commission of blocking this? Because if it's in the interest of the city commission, then okay, they just wanted a redo. But if it's not, then I have
investing in a development company, then it might be a problem.
There was no formal letter. I do not believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his inspiration was, besides him just flat out he didn't agree with some of the assertions made in the recommendation, and that he was going to present to the commission that this was a factually false recommendation.
It's two of the
Pat, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't take my hand down. It looks like, sorry, nothing to say.
Denise?
I mean, it is definitely the city manager's prerogative to share with the commission his opinions and about a recommendation. And so when the commission puts an item on the agenda, the city staff is allowed to, and frankly is required, I think, to present their feedback as well. But that's not what he did. He blocked it. And I do not know this, but I'm guessing since he called Peggy right away the very next morning, I'm hard pressed to believe that he was actually directed to do so by the city commission. Now, I don't know that, but
Like 10 minutes after I posted it.
So I don't think he, but I guess that doesn't matter. I won't go down that road. I just, maybe we need to write a letter to the city commission and say, going forward, we do not want our recommendations to be blocked by any city manager. Doesn't matter this one or whomever. We fully expect our recommendations to get the discussion that we are promised at these commission meetings. And at that time, the city manager may present his or her opinion on those as well. But I guess earlier when I said I didn't know what to do, but now I'm thinking maybe we send the city a letter, the city commission a letter explaining what happened, because maybe they don't even know, to be honest, and say going forward, this is not okay. And we do not want to be, we do not want any city manager to be the roadblock between us and the commission.
I agree with everyone that the council is underutilized. And I think if the commission actually attended our meetings, we wouldn't have run into the difficulty that we had with this last recommendation, because we would have understood certain things, because they would have brought the knowledge that we would have needed. So it feels like we're constantly doing a blind recommendation because we're limited in our knowledge and we're limited in the time. So I know it would be very appropriate for one of them to be at our meetings so we can have more of a discussion and understand what is going on, because our little reports, really, we get them, we do a great job with our reports, but by the time we get all our reports, we're unable to take action as fast. So that's just my comment.
Any further discussion?
I agree with you too, and I think we should address it in a letter to the commission, because if we let it slide, then it's gonna keep happening. I think that we should address it and say, hey, we have a concern because of this situation that happened with the city manager just immediately shutting it down.
Do we need a motion for this, Ben, or?
If anybody is interested in doing that, you can draft one and we'll consider it.
A motion to write a letter, not to write the letter, not to draft the letter itself.
No. Any member of the board can draft a recommendation and bring it forward. So we don't need to move to do that.
Okay, can you put that on the agenda then for next week? I plan to put forth a recommendation that we write a letter.
It's gonna be tough to do that in May because we're doing budget tracks.
Yeah, okay, June?
Better.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. We will move on from this discussion. Let me find my place here. Okay. Yep, so commission attendees reports. We have a lot of these in writing, so thank you for those that did submit them in writing or did not. And if you want to give a brief rundown.
No, I think
I've
proposed before, and I still believe that the best use of our time is to submit them in writing. If you have any questions, Lori has covered. These were budget meetings, just in terms of the dates. I think it was April 2nd and April 16th. I attended the two admin meetings on the budget. But Lori has covered much better than I did. So if anybody has any question, I'll try to answer them, but you've read it or you can read it.
I have a question. Could you elaborate on no funding for sustainability?
Well, that was just something that Sheila Dennison said, and they said, then someone said that, well, CCB is gonna come forward and ask for a glass crusher, which makes sense, but there's no funding for that, so the public works is going to have to request that in their budget or something, in their budget request proposal.
I just read them. Honestly, I'm not in my area of expertise here. And so I'm just reporting what I heard, and I think I didn't do a terribly great job on this. My apologies. I may get better at it, but anyway, that is what they said.
And she just said it as a one-liner. I'm like, these are some things going on with the capital budget.
We have as much detail as you do. Well, I guess the city has this sets sustainability goals. Not this by some of the current commissioners, but others. So that was just concerning that there's no funding for sustainability, and there is a sustainability coordinator who apparently, presumably, has work to do in the area of sustainability. So
it's just fine, and I think we should pay attention to this, but I don't know anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. April 21st, I was at that meeting, and I reported. So on the 21st, it was a pretty short meeting. They approved a special capital allocation purchase an ADA compliant golf cart for the golf course. That came through a complaint through either the golf board or the citizen brought to the city. And when they have these type of things that need to be remedied right away, they use capital funding. So that is what was approved. Other than that, nothing of note. And I think that's all of them. Did I miss anybody? Okay. We will move into coordinator report.
Well, I wanted to thank Jeff for joining us from District 3. That's great. Another fellow applied from District 3, and I think Dan O'Leary was also interested. So I'll let you three decide which of those candidates we prefer. It's Sam Brown from District 5. He used to be on the HCC, but had to leave for a bit because of school concerns, and now he's ready to rejoin. So I have sent his application, and Katie's just replied, but Brian hasn't yet. So we'll see. So Sam Brown might be coming back, so we'll have a Jeff and a Sam Brown. And we're going to be attending with the booth at the Art Walk on May 9th. And sometimes we have to pay Omerta Arts $20. Just sort of a kindness gesture, because they're the ones that organize all the events. So could I get approval from everyone? Somebody could make a motion to approve that $20 fee to Omerta Arts.
I'll second.
Right. There is a motion to approve a $20 expense from Ann Hallstrath, seconded by Kate Myers.
Okay, so we'll be at the Art Walk on May 9th. I don't know who all's gonna man that booth, but we will figure it out shortly before it. Is anyone there? Oh, I'm sorry.
All those in favor of the $20 expenditure?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Then Peggy, I plan to be there. I have an idea for making it more interactive. And so if any of you who aren't on the archery committee, I'd still welcome you to come and be there for part or all of the time at the Art Walk. So I'm Ann, District 2. You can find my contact information on the website.
And I need more people to fill up our commission meeting attendance. I need April 30th. Is anyone interested in attending on that day? It's an admin commission meeting.
I'm planning to go anyway.
Okay. And let's go ahead and try to fill up May. Got Bob Schlock and Ann, and how about May 19th or May 28th is open?
May 19th, that's at 6 o'clock.
Yes, it is.
I'll do the 19th.
Is that 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
Which one, Bob?
Monday night, the fifth,
That's 6 to 8 p.m.
6 to 8.
Yeah, Mondays are always 6 to 8 and Wednesdays are always 4 to 6. So let's go to May 28th. Do I have anybody for that day?
Is that a Wednesday?
Oh,
What's us? That's us too.
yeah, that's us. That's on our big meeting. People are gonna vote. So you'd have to be here for ever and ever. Are you gonna be there anyway, Lori? Yeah. You're gonna be at the budget meeting from 4 to 6 and then our meeting. Okay, I'm just gonna put your name in. Thank you, Lori. I also wanted to bring up Sondagov is a member of the Helena Express Singers, and they had a fundraiser for music at schools.
Yeah,
And
we raised $2,000.
They raised $2,000. I just think that's great. Personally, I think music and art is so important in schools, and I hate to see that cut first. So thanks, Sonda. So that's it.
All right, any questions for Peggy? Okay, we'll move into our outreach report.
I actually was not able to make it to the last outreach meeting, so I don't know if someone else could maybe jump in and talk about what we planned, but one thing I know is the art walk, so we'll probably need volunteers. I'm not sure if we had a different plan, so I will let someone else jump in who might have been there.
Me, and I think I've already said it. We're gonna be there if you want. I'd love to have company, so let me know ahead of time.
It's from 4 to 8.
Right. 4 to 8, yeah, we're gonna be in or in front of, depending on whether it's in Beasley's. And so, but please let me know ahead of time, because I do have an interactive idea that.
Okay, I'll show up.
So, super.
Night. Before the outreach committee, we did talk about tallying all our information from the open house, so that's been done. I did put together all the outreach committee names, and there's over 385 now, so that's nice.
All right, we'll move into committee reports. Planning board.
The last couple of months, there's been nothing on the agenda for city-county planning. But I would like to mention that at the April 17th Planning Commission meeting, Housel Levine gave a draft presentation of chapters 6 through 11 for the Helena Land Use Planning plan, and HCC made comments. Planning Commission had a couple of their members there to comment. But I was going to mention that they're going to take comments on just chapters 6 through 11 through this Friday, if anybody still wants to make comments on the plan. And I think Ellie Ray, if she hasn't gone on maternity leave, would be the person to contact for that in community development. So, and lastly, they're going to do an open house in September for the public. Possibly HCC might see the final draft copy before that. I'm not sure, but we'll keep you informed on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
I believe that Peggy, you sent out the chapters with the opportunity to comment, didn't you? Yes. All of you should have received those chapters, and you can comment just online there. So I really encourage you, if you have the time or the interest, look at those chapters. Even if you only comment on one chapter, the more eyes on this, the more comments they get, the better the plan will be.
Thank you. Public arts.
I sent a whole report, but one thing I want to highlight is that the city is heavily considering fencing off the tunnel in Anchor Park. It is a known graffiti spot, and there are currently unhoused individuals using it as shelter. There are complaints from citizens about feeling unsafe, so I understand that. But at the same time, if you close off that tunnel to graffiti artists, they're going to go somewhere else. It's kind of been pardoned off.
for that purpose. And these unhoused individuals, they have to go somewhere. I don't know if the city has a plan of where these people are going to go. They're going, maybe they will make a different area feel unsafe. I don't know what their plan is long term. So that's just something I want to highlight and alert you all to. I don't know what the solution is.
Just a comment about that. That is such a corner for like where I live, like the southern, to get downtown, and it is, you don't feel safe walking through there. And maybe putting something so you can't do graffiti will keep those guys from camping in there, because that is in town. You just can't. I mean, it's, and they're sometimes a little aggressive, and I would not go there by a woman by myself. So I think, I mean, it needs to be addressed. I don't know. I think it's complicated and difficult. I don't think that's
Are you talking about
one
sign
something
by
that so you can't
Days
camp
Inn?
in there might be good.
By Days Inn?
Anchor Park.
No.
Because by the light,
Oh, because there's a sign by Days Inn there too. Welcome to Helena. Right there, as you come in on Prospect.
This is like a tunnel, like right by the library.
Oh,
As
okay,
you come
okay,
down
okay.
from-
I was thinking of the sign by the Days Inn. There's a big sign.
so I don't know what the solution is, but I just let you guys.
Thanks, Paige. I want to remind everyone we have 9 minutes to squeeze the rest of this in, but Pat, if you want to be real quick.
Oh, yeah, I just want who to ask Paige, who to comment, who should we comment to regarding the tunnel and graffiti there? Because I think it's a great thing to have a place where graffiti is legal.
I don't know, this seems to be a two-part, kill two birds with one stone problem where removing the graffiti and removing the unhoused individuals there. So this seems to be a solution. I don't know if it's the best solution. I'm not an expert in this, but it also sounds like they're going to put a chain link fence so people can see the mural that's going to be graffiti as well behind it. And then I'm not an expert on fences, but I know it's pretty easy to clip through a chain link fence. So I'm wondering if this is even a good long-term solution.
Who should we talk to about this? If we want to offer some comments on the treatment of the tunnel?
On a public arts committee, because they are wanting to be involved with the mural, would be, that's more directly to the city.
Okay, the Parks Department, maybe? No. Okay, thanks.
May I speak?
Yeah.
I saw Doug Smith today and asked him about this, and he didn't know anything about it, and he suggested that it was transportation. So I'd suggest we talk with.
So it's an everybody problem.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out on that for now. If you want to submit public comment, there's an avenue to submit it directly to the commission. That's probably a good way to go for now. CCD. Yeah. Library board.
I had to work on.
Yeah. Golf. Golf is idea.
Yes, sir. They did meet the advisory board met in Bill Roberts Golf Course. And I didn't make the meeting, but I zoomed in. And they are working on putting in a new water station by the putting greens. And they've already got it budgeted in for 16,000 plus, a little under $17,000. So they've already got it's located by number 5 tee box. So there's a committee that's Jeremy Asselt is doing up some setup levels and getting volunteers for that. And Three Brothers is being invited to to work on the project. They're being invited. They're being asked to be involved with the filling stations. So public comment is appreciated. Reports were given by Doug Smith, and the course made it through the winter. 5-6 new people hired for maintenance. The tree grant program has been applied for, and tournaments are lined up for the whole season. And Monday tees as of May 1st will not open till 10 o'clock on Monday morning, May, June, July, and August. They're doing some work with the putting green, with the greens. What they're mowing, I guess, so they're gonna do some, and the simulcasting, simulcators, whatever the machines that you tend to golf with, they're being worked on, and there was some discussion at length, about 10 minutes about somebody being discussing alcohol consumption on the golf course, and what they could do to revise and to fix that situation, and people to get the drunks off. And next meeting will be May 2nd or May 20th.
All right, thank you. Parks Board.
I refer you to the written report, just a brief discussion about a dedicated parkland in the city and the county, and nothing to report on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And could you take me off of MPO? I haven't been following it, and we'll take the lead, I hope. Thank you, Ann.
Sounds good. Water quality.
We met last night and just really quickly, if you're heading up Grizzly Gulch, there's the Pretty Girl Mine reclamation project is underway. They've broken ground and there was mining activity in the area for quite a while. And the Water Quality Protection District got some money from the legislature a couple of years ago to reclaim the mine. They the property owner put up a $10,000 bond with DEQ, which it's not even going to cover 5% of the cost of reclamation, but they got some money from the state, and that work will continue this summer. So I'll give you more updates as it progresses.
Thank you. MPO.
No, nothing to report, but I will take the lead on that.
All right, thank you. All right, is there any further discussion for the good of the order? Just a reminder for everybody here, please make the May 28th meeting. It will be budget committee meeting. And unless there's anything else, whatever.
Anything from Peggy about tomorrow night? Training meeting, is there anything on that?
I think that's in May.
Yeah, that's
Is that
next.
tomorrow night?
Oh, it's May 23rd or 24th. Yeah. So I'll send that to you. There's the clerk's office is having a regional trainings.
Okay.
I think the next one will be for minutes and agenda.
All right, seeing nothing else, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.
What time?